Ebru TV Primetime News begins now. Welcome to the broadcast. My name is Winnie Lubembe. Our sign language tonight, interpreter tonight is Joyce Wairimo. Now, over 80% of those who have died in road accidents this year are men. This is according to a new survey by the National Transport and Safety Authority, which also cites that there was an increase in the number of road fatalities this year compared to 2018.
In Kilifi County, River Sabaki broke its banks, displacing about 1,000 people in Malindi and Magarini constituencies. River Sabaki, which flows from Athi River, broke its banks following heavy rains, which came after about a month of inadequate levels. Last Tuesday, Madunguni and Garashi residents salvaged some belongings and fled after their houses, farms and schools were flooded. Lucy Abdallah Idi, who is a victim, said they fled from their homes last Tuesday after their houses were flooded and their crops and livestock swept away.
Naomba yale mahindi yetu ambayo yameenda na maji tuweze kulipwa na serikali. Manake hata tukisema tunarudi huko tutakuwa hakuna chakula tena.
Kakuyuni Ward Representative Nixon Muramba noted the dire need for relief food and clean water for all the people.
Kijiji chote cha Mafutano kimeweza kuhamishwa kule kwa sababu ya yale maji vile yalivyokuwa yamezidi. Imebidi tuongee na administration ya shule ili wale wote mpaka watoto vile mnaona wako hapa.
And in Migori County, residents are in fear that the floods will cause waterborne diseases.
Watu hawalali, watu wanakesha usiku, hakuna kulala, hakuna chakula, watu hawakuli.
We are also worried after there was a subsidity of this water. We are also worried because of waterborne diseases. Right now we are intriguing malaria with children. And we don't know how that malaria will breed more and more as the waters get more stagnant.
At the same time, there are fears that the busy Nairobi-Nakuru highway could be cut out after River Malewa in Naivasha burst its banks due to the ongoing rains. This came as over 5,000 families living in KCC village in Naivasha and next to the river were put on high alert due to the gushing waters that have already flooded some of their homes.
There are about 15 households that have been displaced so far, and that is expected to go up as the river levels continue to flood the area.
For the last 1 week, heavy rains pounding Kinangop area have left a trail of destruction, with all permanent and seasonal rivers sweeping everything along its routes.
We had the officials from the Kenya National Highway Authority who are keenly monitoring the situation here. So we urge all the residents to be on the lookout, to take care of themselves, because this level is expected to rise.
This comes even as Kenya Met Department warns the heavy rains being experienced across the country will continue through the weekend. Government spokesperson Cyrus Oguna on Tuesday said 132 people have died as a result of floods that have hit several parts of the country. Some 330,000 people have been affected, with 17,000 others being displaced. Diana Rachel Mbogwa, Ebru TV.
We apologize for that mix-up. That is a story on the ongoing floods. And as the ongoing rains continue to cause havoc in different parts of the country, Nairobi County has also seen a share of the effects following the poor drainage system and burst sewer lines. 2 months ago, before the rains, Nairobi County, led by Governor Mike Sonko, started an operation to unclog the drains ahead of the rains. However, the script is so far different from the expectation. Our reporter Milia Kisienya has more.
Poor drainage system has been a co-factor ailing the county of Nairobi in the past years. However, despite measures having been put in place under Mike Sonko's governance, nothing seems to change, and the safety of Nairobi residents still remain a puzzle. Last weekend, a heavy downpour was experienced in a section of Nairobi County, and the city's Ekek drainage system was once again overstretched. Major roads were flooded, more so in Westlands and South Sea areas. The worst hit being the Aga Khan Hospital in Parklands, where operations stalled due to flooding. Along Thika Road, a section of Thika Superhighway Road between NOS headquarters and Muthaiga Police Station was also flooded. due to heavy rains, forcing motorists to use an alternative route and avoid using the flooded lane. However, on Governor Mike Sonko's end, the measures and the safety of the Nairobi residents is well assured.
We are monitoring this situation, all the black spots, wakati mvua ilikuwa inanyesha.
We took to the streets to get a glimpse of Nairobi residents' opinion regarding to the efforts made by the county government on available measures with the oncoming rains, and the number had this to say.
Now the governance is very poor because the funds are there. We pay taxes, but they don't take the initiative to solve the problems way before the disaster strikes. So I think the issue is with the governance. It's not with us as the public. Yeah.
Tayari wametengeneza drainage mzuri, lakini asiangaliwi. Kwa sababu kiangalia mahali kwingine kumetupwa takataka, imefunga na kuna watu wanakuja kufungua.
In most of the sections in Nairobi, especially Embakasi region, we have a mess there.
For me, it's okay because it's heavy rain. We are experiencing heavy rain, and you cannot blame anybody. The roads are okay. It's only a matter of heavy rains, but with time it will be okay.
I'm foreseeing there's a problem within the area Erisirasia. Problem with Erisirasia, drainages, ambapo mvua vile inanyesha namna hii. Jana nimeshinda hapo town mpaka saa 5. Nilipopita hapo nilisikia kinyesi kikinuka sana because it is totally out.
Well, among the areas that have been greatly or adversely affected by the heavy rains in Nairobi County include Kilimani area, South B and C areas, further Estate, Mukuru kwa Ruben, as well as a section of the Thika Road Superhighway.
And of course, those first two stories form the basis of our discussion tonight on how prepared Kenya is as far as handling or managing disaster, because Kenya has in the recent past experienced various disasters, and of course including terror attacks, floods, landslides, droughts, among so many others. But of course the response to these disasters have been largely uncoordinated, resulting in more deaths and of course sometimes into infights among agencies. So tonight we just want to understand, why do we still have cases of uncoordination among other agencies? And of course, to help us understand more or bring in more insight to tonight's discussion, we are joined by Sami Mwangangi, who is a security expert as well as a disaster and emergency management practitioner. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Now, let's just start with the basics, because you see, this is not the first time that we are experiencing disasters in the country. I mean, we can remember cases of Dusit D2. We had the Solai tragedy, remembering, so many instances of drought in so many parts of the country. But the biggest question is, what is the missing link as far as, just handling disasters in the country?
Okay, thank you, Madam. First, my name is Sam Mwangangi, as you have just said. And it is high time we all know, as Kenyans and citizens of this country, we are vulnerable. And in disaster and in security at large, we say vulnerability is an exposure to hazard, while hazard is anything with potential to cause harm. So, as vulnerable people, what are we supposed to do as Kenyans or as people who think are exposed to these hazards? First, the buck stops with the government. Remember, if the government doesn't guide, then the citizens will just be in limbo because they need guidance. And in this guidance, the government is aware of those people who are trained on this, who are experts. There are so many people, but they need that guidance. For example, we have the Minister of Interior. Let's presume that they are in charge of this. It is my take that the CS Interior has an obligation, has a responsibility to ensure that we don't just react, but we remain proactive as a country. Because when we lose lives, like, for example, 2 weeks ago, I think it's a week ago, in West Pokot, we lost so many lives. Okay, we say it is an emergency, it's a disaster, but are we prepared for that?
And of course, this is sort of in your line, or you of course, have handled or you're handling, such matters. So what I really want to understand from you is, are we ever prepared? Because you see, like I said, this is not the first time we are experiencing this. Are we ever prepared? Because you see, from what you're saying is the government should be held accountable. But then again, from the government side, they will tell you everything is under control. We are setting up either funds, we are setting up this or that to make sure that we are able to handle this. But then when disaster strikes, we are back to zero. And of course, from what I said earlier on, and that is fight among interagencies.
Thank you. You see, when we say, okay, the government always has to say that things are in control. But remember, we are Kenyans, and when the media is all over, and it has been reported that lives has been lost, and we see there are flooding. In fact, we have become a flooding nation. Every now and then, it is flooding. Should we wait until the floods attack us so that we react? That's why I'm saying our take is, if the government is in control, we must ensure, the same government must ensure that what they have as government to be in control, it is there, it is cascaded, they are down to counties. Yeah. But so long as it will remain at the central government, and it is not the central government which is being attacked, then what do you expect to the county which is at extreme location? For example, that the victim county, the West Pokot.
All right. And you see, and talking about that, I'm pretty sure you are aware of a proposed bill, actually, and that is to establish the National Disaster Management Authority that, of course, gives the powers, legislative powers to the Cabinet Secretary. So my question to you is, do you think this will solve the problem? And where does that put the county government's arse?
One, we don't want as a country to do things just for the sake of it. That's our legislation. How will it work? We should know as Kenyans, okay, it is there as a legislation, but how does it work? How will it go there down? Because today, people are not dying because there are no regulations to stop this. And that's why, I think we all know that in disaster, there are phases. That's why we talk of mitigation, we talk of preparedness, we talk of response, we talk of recovery. Yeah. So, just there as the academicians put them, because they are empirical there. They are empirical there. But are we working to ensure that they are workable in our situations?
All right. I mean, this is a problem that we have as a country, and I think we have to admit, all of us, that yes, we have policies, we have laws, we have bills, we have all those things, legislations and all those things. But now when it comes to the implementation, that is where the big problem is. So you, as a person who has, of course, dealt with cases of disasters and disaster management and preparedness as well. So this policy is being in place. What do you think needs to be done to ensure that, like you said, it trickles down to the people who are actually affected the most?
First, it is an important bill. It is an important, we should admit it is an important bill. Yeah. But it needs the person responsible with the bill to ensure that all stakeholders are involved. Because I very much respect the Cabinet Secretary and our doctor, Mr. Matiang'i. Why? Because he's a pusher and he's very aggressive in doing things. But on this, you cannot push what you are not specialist on. All right. But as a Cabinet Secretary, you have an obligation, you have a responsibility to ensure that you know people who has worked in the forces, who have worked in the civil, who has worked all over. The lecturers from the academia, you can call them. And then you sit down and you come up with the right mapping on how you can do them. Because it's all about how you do them. Not about the legislation. There are so many legislations in this country, but are they working? And if, as per the citation and the reference points, if they are not working, and even if they are working in a moribund way, in a passive way, why can't we have a legislation whereby the people, the stakeholders, are involved in this? Right. Yeah? And when they're involved in this, then we'll be sure that if it doesn't happen, then Kenyans and Kenyans' mothers and fathers have never brought up sons and daughters who can help humanity.
All right. And let's look at the practicality of this particular, authority. Because you see, like I said, they want to establish this a centralized system for responding and managing disaster. So can we look at the practicality of this? Because like you said, employ the right people who really understand on disaster mitigation, preparedness, management, and of course, recovery later on. But now having it in a centralized, system as compared to having it sort of like devolved, is this really, really practical?
It cannot be pragmatic. Why? Because today we have a problem. Remember in West Pokot, just recently, the CS himself could not have flown there.
Yeah.
Now can you see? So that means if the biggest personality in matters security in this country cannot work there, then how will other people work? For example, we have an organization referred as PMAC. PMAC is led by one of Kenyan sons, Mr. Pius Masai. Yeah? Pius Masai was a director in the disaster management. In fact, he was a senior police officer. They are just there. We know he's a qualified person. He has experts in that PMAC. But where are they? They're just there. What do we need? We need that attachment. We need that connection. Because these guys, they have professionalism, they have expertise, but there's no way they can work on their own because they need logistics, they need everything. But they have brains. Yeah.
All right. So employ the right people and equip them
Correct.
to handle and sort of like mitigate. And if the disaster comes, we're more in a better place to sort of handle it.
Affirmative.
Okay. All right. Now, so in terms of the early warnings, because you see from a case of West Pokot, a report from the government said that they were warned. And again, this is not the first time that we're having cases of landslides in West Pokot. This is like one of the major cases of landslide, but they were warned. So when it comes to the population, do you feel that sometimes we don't really see the weight of the warnings that sometimes we're given?
The two principles of mitigation and preparedness are key.
Okay.
Why? Because they work interchangeably. There's no way you can say you want to do this when you are not prepared for it.
Okay. So warning people, according to you, is not enough?
It is not enough.
Okay.
We have the government as a monopoly, yeah, of economic firepower. Economic firepower to do anything they want. And these are their people. And when people are dying, you wonder what will happen when the same thing attacks in your place. You wonder, have you built your house on a hill place or on a low place? So what will happen? So are we prepared as Kenyans? Because one, this might take. Besides, we are challenging the government to come up and bring things to people. But we also need people to be sensitized that this thing is happening. Sometimes you may find that the government, we don't know whether we may say it lacks the capacity.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the word to use. But in case the government lacks that capacity, as Kenyans, are we knowledgeable enough? Do we have enough wisdom and technique to ensure that we can persevere by mitigation, by lessening the impact as Kenyans now, as a common man? That's the challenge.
All right. What about building resilience as well amongst the people? Is this one of the things that can also be used as a way to, again, impact knowledge to the population? Because, I mean, truth be told, when disaster strikes, it's the people down there who are mostly affected as compared to this other side. So then in terms of building resilience among the people as a way of just giving them the knowledge in terms of if a disaster strikes, this is what you can do. And even training the people amongst themselves to even help as far as first aid is concerned.
Very important. It is of paramount importance. Why? Because the government has structures. Remember, from the elder man, they're down. Even if that man is not academically affluent, but you just bring that knowledge in a way that he can understand, and then he imparts the same knowledge to those people that are down there. It will be of
utmost importance.
Yeah.
Now, as still again on the society, you see, most of the time we don't really want to talk about certain things. We do not want to face realities at times because this is a taboo. It's more obviously the way people say once you says something, it brings it into existence. So we do not want to talk about landslides, we do not want to talk about floods, because we do not want them to come close to us. So the more we avoid, the more we become ignorant. So then as a society, aside from, yes, building resilience and empowering the people on what to do in the event that a disaster strikes, what else needs to be done to ensure that the population is well aware and well prepared in case a disaster strikes?
First is to ensure that we sensitize the religious leaders.
All right.
Because remember, I'm also a very staunch Christian. And sometimes in Christianity, we talk of faith. And in faith, you cannot talk on expecting something bad to happen in you. Always our faith is on how good or value is coming upon us. So this thing, because sometimes, you see, there is an ideal thing. When we talk of an ideal thing, it is a utopia, the perfect way of life. For example, thou shalt not commit adultery. Okay? That's an ideal thing. But are people committing adultery? And can you distinguish who has committed and who hasn't? So it is a challenge. So what we are supposed to do is to ensure that those leaders who are societal, who are living with the society, who are more with the society, and who are influential in society, because leadership is all about influence. They are sensitized by the government structures, because we have structures in the government. And then after being sensitized, they do the same. They teach. They preach that besides we are having a God who is protecting us. But remember, God protecting, having that protection of God is one thing. But sometimes when there is an occurrence of such disasters, we are supposed to ensure that we have to make a step before our God comes to protect us further.
All right. And then another biggest hurdle, I would say, is then on resource allocations. But then again, over time, we have seen an increase in terms of resource allocations towards disaster preparedness, I would say. But then again, why do we still have then these cases of a disaster strikes, and then as a country we are best known for knee-jerk reactions? This happens, that is when we want to react, and then we forget about it. We move on and wait until something else strikes, and then knee-jerk reaction, we sort of act on it, and then once we're done, we move on and all those things. So yes, resource allocations has been increasing over time, but then again, we still see so many lives lost from whatever form of disasters that we experience in the country.
On that one, I'll start from this point. When you talk of law is not definition. But I'm a criminologist, We say it is not a definite definition. But we say there are rules and regulations which are binding. For example, if we say you are not supposed to do something there and there is no sanction, then that cannot be law. And then we say a crime. It is a violation of a particular law which is enforceable by the laws of a particular state. Now, we have people who are responsible of these resources, year after year. These things are happening, and then there is an addition of resources. Do we have checks and balances to account on what happened on the last annual allocation? Those are challenges. And then, as a country, we are supposed to come with such structures. That is, if this person cannot account for this, then we have laws in the land. The due process should take place. This person is supposed to be accountable on what was allocated to him. If he cannot account, then the law takes its course.
Okay. All right. Now, in terms of then, as we wind up, the interview, because time is not really on our side, we have really come a long way as far as just handling, disasters as a country. I mean, we can compare the cases of Dusit due to terror attack as compared to the first one at Westgate. I mean, this one was handled a little bit better as compared to the first ones. So as an expert in this field, and that is disaster preparedness and management, what are some of the lessons that sort of we are yet to learn, if we haven't learned so far? What are some of the lessons that we're supposed to learn, and especially from the recent landslide in West Pokot?
Okay, first, you have talked about the those terrorist attacks. One thing we have learned about the terrorist attacks is we need to have a command center which has control. And that's why, if you can go back to what the first one was, the second one, we were more progressive because there was command control. So long as you have a center with control in that command, all things will go well. Why? Because we have professional and well-tuned, trained officers in this country.
Yeah.
For information, we are one of the best trained officers in the military, in the police force in Africa. Yeah? No one can challenge us. But what we need is to avoid politics and ensure what we are doing it professionally.
All right.
Okay?
Yeah.
The next is about the disasters.
Yeah, landslides and even the ongoing floods, because again, so many families have been displaced, so many lives have been lost from the floods, because what the government says is 132 people have lost their lives and scores of families displaced from the ongoing floods.
More than 160,000.
Yeah.
So you see, it becomes a country disaster, a national disaster. We are not instructing the president to declare, but as human beings, we feel that we have been really attacked.
All right.
This is a thorough beating. Now, we are supposed to come up as a country through the leadership of this country to ensure that such things, these are mistakes. Someone slept on his job. We should just admit.
Okay.
But if someone slept on his job, should you allow the same person to carry on, proceed on sleeping on the job all the time? No. As Kenyans, we should be excused on this.
All right.
And we now challenge the leaders of this country, both the political, the administrators, to ensure that this thing doesn't happen. For example, we have the technical aspect. Why can't we use our drones? Why can't we use our planes? Yeah? In case there is a disaster somewhere. There's that technical aspect. And we have that capacity. In fact, we have seen in political podiums all manner of how people work. That means if a single person can afford and can have such capacities to attend in these political forums, the same. Our government should be having more than that.
Yeah.
And when such things happen, that's what we expect.
Yeah.
For example, when the CS, Mr. Matiang'i, was going to West Pokot, and the plane couldn't, does it mean our capacity has only that one plane? Because I know that one was more.
The deputy president managed to go there.
I don't want to touch
to
more on politics.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. But the point here is, if such an helicopter could cruise there, couldn't maneuver there, there are so many
other avenues.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, in fact, we have so many helicopters. If that one couldn't, then bring another one, and then we proceed on and we rescue the lives of our Kenyans.
Okay, but so many of the families have also been evacuated. And of course, this is a discussion that we can, go on and on and on and on until we get solutions. Because like I said, we as a country, we are best known as a knee-jerk nation, where something happens, and that is when we react. And of course, we also need, as I was about to ask you this, but in the interest of time, I think you cannot be able to answer that in terms of how angry can we Kenyans be to hold someone accountable who, like he said, is sleeping on their job, because so many people are losing their lives. So again, I think we'll need to invite you over sometime again to finish with the discussion. But thank you so much for making time for us tonight. Really, really appreciate it. And of course, that is Sami Mwangangi, who is a disaster and emergency management practitioner as well as a security expert, just talking to us about how prepared Kenya is in terms of disaster and, of course, management as well and recovery. So we need to take a very short break, but when we come back, we still have so many stories in store for you, including why our very own president is angry tonight. Welcome back. Glad you're still with us. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta has broken his silence over the new clamor surrounding the implementation of the BBI report. In the latest indication that all is not rosy in the Jubilee paradise, the head of state fired a direct shot at his number 2, whom he accused of misleading Kenyans.
The hullabaloo that is the implementation of recommendation of the BBI report that seemed to be creating a wedge in the bridge to unity has rubbed the president the wrong way. Was lashed out at a section of leaders, most whom are allied to Deputy President William Ruto, saying they lack a sense of direction. Speaking for the first time since the launch of the report, a visibly angry President Kenyatta fired direct shot at Deputy President William Ruto, who he castigated, saying they have once again embarked on politicizing the recently unveiled BBI report.
Kana ini atia matina ni na bere ya turute riboti neguo mara toire mathiuruka mweri mugima magituhuyukagira maundu mangi riu ne oima riu ni ige ni barabara engi.
In the off-the-cuff speech made in his native Kikuyu language, the president sounding a warning to the political leaders seen to undermining his quest to have the BBI report successfully implemented.
Kirio kuria gitiri kundu gutire kindu itoi na kahinda gakinya nie ne njui ni amaragia na tiare amaragia riu kahinda gakinya twina inyuna he tugacira uria tugwika.
And in the latest indication that the state could be a pro-referendum,
vile mheshimiwa rais wetu ametuelekeza, BBI itapelekwa kwa wananchi.
Interior CS Fred Matiang'i earlier today gave the clearest indication that the head of state is not happy with Ruto's position.
Nyinyi wenyewe muamue, musome na mtuambie vile mnataka tuendelee mbele sisi viongozi wenu kwa sasa, na wakati ukifika nyinyi wenyewe ndio mtajiamulia vile mnataka kuendelea mbele.
Soon after the launch of the report, political leaders began locking horns and exchanging words over implementation of the BBI report.
Basi mtueleze which part of this report inahitaji kupelekwa referendum. Mbona sisi hatujaona? Si mtueleze.
On one hand, leaders allied to the pro-Ruto wing of the Jubilee Party, popularly known as Tanga Tanga, appear to be voting for parliamentary route, while their rivals are in favor of a referendum.
This process must be people-owned. It will not be taken to parliament.
Davis Mberia, Ebru TV.
Well, we're just going to leave it at there as far as BBI jitters is concerned. But to the corridors of justice, the High Court has temporarily suspended the order by the Nairobi City County government over increase of parking fees. The order comes after Federation of Public Transport Operators vowed not to pay any extra cost, with claims Governor Mike Sanko did not consult them before the implementation of the order. Our reporter Jeff Hemba with more details on that story.
It is a temporary reprieve for the Nairobi public transport sector and the private vehicles owners at large. This follows after Justice James Makau of the High Court halted the order over the planned parking fees hike in Nairobi County. The order by the court comes a moment after the Consumer Federation of Kenya (COFEC) filed a suit objecting the county's plans to double the parking fees within the Central Business District CBD from 200 Kenyan shillings to 400 Kenyan shillings. The buses, which are not public service vehicles, were to be charged 1,000 Kenyan shillings per day to park in the city center. Through their lawyer Henry Karauka, COFEC termed the move by the City Hall as unconstitutional. Before even a court order was issued, the Federation of the Public Transport Operators sounded a warning to Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko moving to increase the parking fees.
We are disturbed also that despite the fact that we pay over 120 million per month to the county, it is surprisingly unconstitutional that the Assembly can pass a finance bill without stakeholder participation.
Services commensurate, which should be commensurate to our payments, there is totally nothing.
Simon Kimutai, the chairman of the Matatu Association, and Edwin Mukabano of the Association of the Bus Operators in Kenya, among others, claimed the money they pay to the county government does not consummate to the services they receive, and thus does not warrant the increase of the levies.
We are not ready to hike our fares or to pass the cost to the consumer of the service. And we want to say, we have said that our members should not pay. And I want to put it categorically here, that we know they will try to make arrests, but we will demand, we will ask our members to join mass action into making the city ungovernable.
It's also not fair to ask our members to pay more, yet public transport facilities have been encroached on, denying our board our boarding and alighting passengers walkways and creating conflict between pedestrians and motorists.
The officials slammed the governor for hiding other orders, only to reservice, while he making monthly payments.
They have not put it on the circular, but when you go to pay, they have refused us to pay. We must pay the new one. Why didn't they put on the circular?
Magari ambayo yalikuwa yakitozwa ada ya 3,650 imesongeshwa hadi shilingi 5,000. Haya ni matatu. Ukienda 32 kutoka 5,000 mpaka 8,000. Ukienda kwa 51 kutoka 7,500 hadi 10,000.
Hii ni kitu ambayo ilikuwa ya 2014 na tukaongea 2014 na tukaongea na gavana aliyekuwako siku hiyo.
They termed the new changes to be unreasonable, punitive and discriminatory, given that the new parking fees were to take effect on Wednesday. The owners of the private vehicles were to be charged 7,000 Kenya shillings for a seasonal parking ticket of 1 month. A 3-month ticket will have cost 18,000 Kenyan shillings, while a 6-month ticket will have cost 32,000 Kenyan shillings. The annual tickets were to cost 55,000 Kenyan shillings.
What the parking fee is doing for us as a country, as Nairobi, I'm not seeing it. We are parking, I'm right now parked in mud.
The matter is set for hearing on January 21st, 2020. Reporting for Ebru TV, I'm Jeff Khaemba.
All right, time for us to take another very, very short breather, but do not go too far. We'll be right back with business news. Now, 4 bidders have moved to court seeking a declaration that some sections of the Finance Act 2019 on taxation are unconstitutional. Through lawyer Cecil Miller, the punters are also seeking temporary orders restraining Kenya Revenue Authority from collecting 20% excise duty introduced by Section 23 of the Act.
The 4 bidders are seeking an order that, in the alternative, the Speaker of the National Assembly and the Speaker of the Senate amended the rate of excise duty chargeable on steak by punters under the Excise Duty Act to revert 10% as initially proposed by the Financial Bill 2019. The petitioners Eugene Mwanje, Robert Ouko, Dennis Kimari and Moses Mwiruri have sued the National Treasury Cabinet Secretary, KRA Commissioner General, Speakers of the National Assembly and Senate and the Attorney General. They want the court to issue orders stopping the implementation of Section 20, 21 and 23 of the Finance Act 2019 pending the hearing and determination of the petition. The petitioners claim that the National Assembly increased the tax base to 20%, itinerary and without involving public or stakeholders. The actions of the National Assembly, Mele said, itinerary increase of the proposed tax duty on steaks placed by punters from 10 to 20%, meant that they took over the function of the national government, which is mandated under Article 209, Chapter 1D of the Constitution to impose excise duty. He said the Speaker of the National Assembly is in so doing usurped its powers and violated the said article of the Constitution of Kenyan petitioners' right to own property, to protection against discrimination and fair administrative action. The provision of the Finance Act 2019 have faced resistance from gamblers and betting companies, especially on the interpretation of wins. Betting firms had begun deducting 20% withholding tax from the consumer winning in compliance with directive from the Betting Licensing and Control Board and the Kenya Revenue Authority, despite an April 2019 court order that barred the betting firms from deducting and remitting the money to KRA. However, it is alleged that as income inequality widens, the lowest income households in Kenya spend a lot in lottery tickets. This is one of the key concerns raised in the Building Bridges Initiative report, which claims Kenya spends 10 billion of shillings on lotteries each year. The report recommends that government set up national lottery whose earning will be plugged back to empower the youth. If the recommendation is adopted, Kenya would see big sports betting companies closed down.
And elsewhere, different counties have heeded to the directive by President Uhuru Kenyatta to wear Kenyan fabric on Fridays as a way of promoting local textile industry. The move is meant to give a new lease of life to the factories that collapsed after the introduction of mitumba clothes in the latest 90s.
Counties, among them Kiambu, Homa Bay, Kisumu, Siaya and others, have heeded the government's directive to appreciate the African attire that was issued on 17th of October this year. Residents in these counties are, however, calling upon the government to make legislation on blocking importation of goods that are produced locally in order to ease unnecessary competition that has seen most of our manufacturing industries fold. The private sector has also joined the call, with some encouraging their workers to wear garments manufactured in the country on every Friday as a way of promoting Buy Kenya, Build Kenya initiative. In Thika, Kiambu County, one of the surviving textile industry, Thika Clothes Mills, has rallied all its workers to wear clothes manufactured in Kenya and are calling on all Kenyans to follow suit. Tejal Dodia, the managing director, Thika Clothes Mills, and the chief campaigner of the Buy Kenya, Build Kenya initiative, on behalf of the private sector, is leading a delegation at the Lake region championing for the consumption and utilization of Kenyan-made materials for the realization of the Big Four agenda and protection of our local manufacturing industries.
So with the Big Four agenda, where the president has told his disciplined forces and his government to buy locally manufactured textiles so that the farmer can get a good price, so that people can have jobs. It's all about job creation, it's all about creating wealth, keeping the wealth inside in the country, not sending it all out.
The presidential directive forms an opportunity for both the county government and the national government rally the entire country behind this noble agenda that will encourage the consumption of locally produced goods and services while advocating for use of local materials in the manufacturing process with the aim of stimulating the economic growth. So far, the three counties of the Lake region, Homa Bay, Siaya and Kisumu, have demonstrated support for the Buy Kenya, Build Kenya campaign by setting Fridays as days where their county government workers adorn in locally manufactured fabric.
Buy Kenya, Build Kenya ni kitu ambao tumefurahia sana, na ni kwa sababu tumeamua on Friday lazima tuwe na nguo rasmi, ni kuonyesha ulimwengu au Kisumu County au Kenya as a whole to see that we Kisumu County, we have agreed with sensitizing the cotton to upgrade it until we get a better wages. We are not going to stop growing the cotton right now as it was before.
So we are saying and we are urging and we are also supporting what the member of National Assembly, Mr. Patrick Wainaina, the bill he brought to the Assembly can be passed so that we can limit or block the goods which are coming from outside.
Thika MP Patrick Wainaina said that the new directive will act as a remedy for the survival of Kenya's industries and help creation of more employment to the youth.
Furahia kwa sababu hii serikali, kuna serikali mingi sana sana za county zimeunga mkono ile bill yangu ya Buy Kenya, Build Kenya and Dumping Bill 2018, na nifurahia kwa sababu hata serikali ya Kisumu, ya county ya Kisumu imeendelea.
And Benjamin Walker's story winds up Ebru TV Primetime News this evening. Thank you very much for staying with us. My name is Winnie Lubembe. Our sign anchor tonight has been Joyce Wairimu. And of course, a very, very big thank you to a very big team behind us, from the reporters to the technical team who put together this bulletin and ensure that it has been a success. Wishing you a lovely night, but do not go anywhere because we have excellent programming coming your way right after this. Have yourselves a restful night.